Hi guys, this is Jordan, and on this channel I talk about detransition, mental health issues, and such as that. Today I'm going to be talking about yet another controversial thing that I'm going to be adding to my archive of controversial content. So let's go. So there's three different types of sexuality when it comes to transitioning. None of these are valid in my opinion, and all of them are harmful. I might be a bit controversial to say that, but yeah, that's just my thoughts so far. Just giving my opinion right away. Anyways, the first one is homosexual transsexual, which is gay men that want to look like women so that they attract straight men. Now, I was fitting into that category when I was transitioning because I wanted to attract straight men. Because I got off on that a little bit, even though the estrogen kind of depletes your sexuality. And yeah, it just depletes that, and you get less aroused than you would if you weren't on it. So it does defeat a little bit of the purpose of it, and it's a little bit self-defeating, in my opinion. This is usually where a lot of the lady boys are. They go on Reddit, they do sex work, and this is where a lot of those ones come from. I didn't ever do any of that stuff because I don't know how they have the sex drive to do any of that stuff, but apparently they find a way to do it. And a lot of them will be like, "Oh, is my male anatomy feminine enough for you?" And it's like the obvious answer is no, because women don't have that, and most guys don't like an outie unless they're gay. And a lot of these bigger gay men, ooh, I don't know how I did that. They will go after these little feminine men that castrate themselves, and they'll be like treating them like women. But yeah, I think a lot of them are bisexual or gay that like these trans-identifying men that are homosexual. And I think Blair White also fits under this category. Now, androgynephilia, which a lot of people think is controversial in the trans-identifying community, is basically a man that gets off on himself looking like a woman. And this isn't good either because, he goes on the pills, right? He stops getting off on himself because it's like, he starts to feminize, right? He still has that sex drive, but then it starts to deplete the longer he's on these pills, so he gets off for a bit. Then he goes back on because it's like, starting to get those urges again, and it's rinse and repeat, and that's really not good for your hormones and really bad for your mental health too. And then there's this other category, which is asexual people, bisexual people, or people that just don't get off on either of those other two ones I've talked to you about. And in this category, basically, it's like a center ground between those two, or not really a center ground, it's like an other. Still bad. You still go on the pills that damage your sex drive, that damage your health, with the conditions I've mentioned in my previous videos, which, those are blood clots, heart disease, stroke, possibly early onset Alzheimer's. These pills are very powerful things, and hormones really do control lots of different organs in your body. It's vital to have the right amount of hormones in your body to function correctly. These endocrinologists that do this, they're not good people, in my opinion. But anyways, I'm going to move on to what the females deal with, which these are women that think they're men. There's lesbian transsexual, which is basically the woman version of homosexual transsexual. These are lesbians, oftentimes autistic. It's very common for them to be autistic, like ridiculously so. But not always. And they fall into the transition because they're like, "Oh, I'm a lesbian, I can't," and they present probably more masculinely, possibly. And they just want straight women to go after them, I think. Maybe. I'm not sure exactly how they work because I'm not a woman, so I wouldn't know. But just from what I've seen, there's the female version of androgynephilia, which is women that get off on themselves looking like men. And there's just like a few women that I've ever seen kind of do that. There's usually more men. It's usually a more male thing. But they also can in some circumstances, especially with the increase of testosterone, which ramps up their sex drive and gets them more horny, but also, because like it makes them more horny, but at the same time, it ruins their reproductive organs, makes their parts dry down there, so it's like they can't really enjoy it. It's not pleasurable, but they're still very aroused, which is really sad if you think about it. Then obviously there's a center ground, and I think most of the females fit in this category. They're basically they're a lot of the times the straight women that don't get off on themselves by looking like men, and they just want like a boyfriend or, I don't know. And they usually think of themselves as gay men, which is kind of funny, because they're not. And it's like they just want men to like them, some of them might go on Grindr. It's very ridiculous because, they're women, but they'll still try to find their way on Grindr and get men to like them. I'll go through who fits under what category from what I've seen. Okay, so the androgynephilia category, I don't think I don't usually see those guys making like content a lot of the time on YouTube about their transition, but I'm pretty sure, I don't know, I've seen some make some videos. Like there's this one Polish guy that Isaiah Undercooked talked to, well, not talked to, but he just kind of watched a video of his, and this Polish guy was just getting off on himself looking like a woman. That's the only example I can really think of. The other category is like Isaiah Undercooked. He's, he says that he's like in the other category, which I believe that's true. Alexander fits under. Oh yeah, Shapeshifter fits under homosexual, transsexual. Maya Henry is a homosexual, transsexual. Samantha Lux is a homosexual, transsexual. Then for lesbian transsexuals, I believe Courtney Coulson was one. Jamie Dodger, Sam Collins, Chloe Cole. And she's one of my favorite detrans women, or women that just got off the hormones, I'll call them. I thought I would mention this article that I just found. It's this bisexual girl who didn't fit in, and she was also autistic, and she transitioned at 18 like I had. And there's a lot of other stories out there, if you look. Also, Courtney Coulson was a female version of androgynephilia, so she got off on looking like a man. And then Marcus, she is an other category for women that believe that they're men. And then I've been seeing this one woman named Ezra on YouTube lately, and I don't know if she's bisexual, but I think she fits in the middle category. I should line up all YouTubers and just like put them in these categories. But I don't have time for that, even though my OCD wants me to do that. Speaking of which, one of the reasons why I'm so almost fascinated in this subject, not only because I went through it and it really hurt me, is because I got OCD a little bit, I believe, because I'm autistic. And I don't know, the subject is kind of interesting to me because it's like, all these mentally ill people are like castrating themselves and stuff and doing these crazy surgeries. And it's just really interesting to me because it's like they really want to be the other gender. They really want to be with every fiber of their being. They'll make up whatever excuse comes to them to be that other gender. And also, it's like almost like a religion, but more like a cult. It's like a cult kind of religion almost. Because it's like these people want you to, well, they don't want you to, but like as soon as you have like non-conforming signs, or you're gay, or you're suffering with body dysmorphia, they're like, oh, come to me, and then I'll help you transition and we'll be your family and blah, blah, blah. A lot of the time they'll be like that. Even the least woke ones like Blair White and the Buck Angel and the Marcus. But they'll be like, oh, come to me, I'll be your family, you'll make such a pretty woman or you'll make such a handsome man. Like, yeah. And they'll coach you into it. That's why I say it's like a cult. And also, I respect all religions. I do. I respect Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism. I respect all religions. But this one is dangerous. This religion is very dangerous. Because when you get into the trans religion, a lot of people on YouTube call it the TQ cult, which I believe that is a good name for it. They'll get you to cut up your body and to take these hormones that castrate yourself and give you these really negative effects a lot of the time, which I'm surprised not more people are detransitioning from these negative effects. I mean, I was already starting to experience some of these negative effects. Like, I would get brain fog, I would pee randomly, I would get incontinence, my bladder would hurt, just, when I was peeing, so many things. My triglycerides were getting higher, and it's like, how can people go years on this stuff? I don't believe it. That's why I think it's like very cult-like behavior. And even on my last video, some of these people are trying to coach me into rejoining the cult because they're like, oh, you'll make such a pretty woman because, I'm a man that's non-conforming and I like to wear makeup. And these people will try to get you back, because you're just non-conforming and you don't fit in. So they'll be like, oh, we'll be your family. Which, I'll be honest with you guys. You guys should be able to be yourself. So that means being yourself regardless of how people judge you, and not joining cult-like groups or people that think that if you did this you'd be better or whatever. Don't join these scams. Be yourself. Do whatever makes you happy, as long as it's not hurting yourself or others, which transitioning does hurt people. It physically hurts you. That's why I don't believe in it. And it does hurt those around you, regardless if you don't think so or not. I'd like to see women with short hair, men wearing dresses and stuff. And if I see you judging those people, I'll do some stuff. And sorry, that's like an empty threat, but that's true. Because it's like, we shouldn't transition these people. We shouldn't. That's going to hurt them more in the long run. So we should have mass acceptance for non-conforming people and LGBT support across the whole country, across the whole world, so that people don't feel pressured to transition, so that they're not a homosexual transsexual and they're just a regular homosexual, and they're not a lesbian transsexual, they're just a regular lesbian. We should have acceptance so that these people feel like they don't have to transition, that they don't have to take hormones, because they're not abnormal. They're people that just don't like the opposite sex, and that is completely valid. I don't understand why we should pressure these people to transition. In some of these other countries, they do pressure them to transition. That's my fault with this. That's what I don't like. I don't want people to feel like they have to conform to these beliefs and this ideology and go into the wrong bathrooms and use facilities that aren't made for them. Because, they'll be so in denial of it. They'll either be very in denial of their sex, they'll accept it, but still be in denial about some things about their sex, like having to use the sex segregation. And these people are usually Blair White, Buck Angel, Marcus. They know that they're men and women, but they don't want to fully accept it. And then there's this third category that are completely convinced that they are the opposite sex. and that they should be treated as such. And these people are usually like, what's that one person's name? Jamie Dodger. She, I think, believes that she's just a complete man and deserves to use her spaces and stuff. I don't care if she's 6 feet tall, she's still a woman. But there's always a reason why these people go through transition. I want to talk about my experience with therapy now. I've had 3 different therapists, and all 3 of them, when I've told them that I'm trans, and I was very confused during this time too that I told these therapists this, they completely ignored the fact that I was having cognitive dissonance, that I was suffering through a lot of mental illness. And they completely ignored that, and the fact that in the span of 3 months I went from very masculine presenting to very feminine presenting. And they completely ignored all those warning signs. I didn't say I was anorexic during this time. I should have, but I didn't. I was very in denial about my anorexia during that time. But they didn't notice these warning signs. They didn't notice how, I was also attracted to men, and they just didn't care. They just ignored that. My parents thought I was bipolar. My parents thought I was dealing with psychosis. My brother, my oldest brother, thought I was dealing with some type of mental health issue. Yeah, which was all true. I could have been helped from becoming a homosexual, transsexual, if enough people cared to actually question my logic. You see, we gotta question people who identify as trans logic, because of the time they won't have logic. Like, even Marcus and Blair's points, we say they're the most logical trans people. We say that they are in the middle, right? We say, the extreme, TERFs are here, the extreme woke people like Jamie are here, and then Blair and Marcus are here. But in reality, this is here. The wokest of them all is here. And then we're here. And then the complete conservatives who don't want us to be nonconforming are here. I'm here. I'm in the middle. I don't believe a man can become a woman, and I don't believe a woman can become a man. No matter how much they pass, no matter how much we think that they are the opposite sex, they're not. So that's just my viewpoint, and I'm not even trying to be rude here when I say that stuff. I'm literally being as real as I possibly can be. And a lot of these people make this type of content where they're celebrating their body dysmorphia. They're celebrating 4 months on HRT, 5 months on HRT, 6 months on HRT. I watched all of those videos when I was dealing with the worst of my body dysmorphia. And these people will be on YouTube celebrating it. And I'm glad some of them are starting to hold back on that. They're stopping making these videos and stuff that can trick impressionable young kids into castrating themselves and mutilating themselves, like how I almost did. But yeah, this is gonna continue to affect gay people mostly, and non-conforming people, and it's gonna be a public health issue, and it's already a public mental health issue. And some of these people, these very extreme ones, will try to get us to transition children. They won't develop any of these things. Like, they won't become homosexual, transsexual, androgynophilia, lesbian, transsexual, other female version of androgynophilia. Because the reason is because their genitalia, their sex drive will not have ever developed. And yeah, that is just terrible. I mean, look at what they did to this woman when she was a kid. Whenever I hear a woke activist say we should transition children, I want them to see this woman and look me in the eyes straight and tell me that. We're completely taking away their sexual orientation. I think that's really homophobic, in my opinion. And this conversion therapy is also very homophobic. And I'm saying that as a guy who is in the LGBT group. And also, if I look tired today, that's because I have been working out and I didn't get much sleep, and that's why. Like I've said, they'll have these two contradicting beliefs, yada yada yada. Eventually one of them will win, which is the truth, which is the real belief where it's like you're born your sex, you can't change it. And once that happens, you'll become like me. That's why trans people and detrans people are essentially the same thing, except detrans people realize that we are just our sex and we don't use gender as an identity anymore because gender is very stereotypical, very regressive, like I've said. So a lot of MTFs, TMs like me, I only use that phrase because I want you guys to know that I thought I was going to become a woman, but I was never a woman. And, you know, I realized that. That's why I say I'm that. But with this chemical castration, it doesn't make you a different gender. It doesn't change any of that. And your identity will always be the one that you're born with, which is your sex. And it's not really an identity, it's a state of being, like I've said. And if you guys are in the TQ cult, I don't mean it like as a negative thing. I just mean that you're possibly brainwashed, possibly androgynophilia, or you are like very narcissistic and you control this group and you control the lower people like me who are autistic, who are easily convinced in this type of scam. So I don't mean that you guys are bad people. I just mean that the majority of you TQ people are very lost, like how I was. And the way to find your way out of it is getting in touch with reality, like I've been saying in my videos. Sorry if I seem tired, and I'll be more relaxed, not relaxed, I'll be more awake in my next video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I really appreciate all your guys' comments, and yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye. So if you guys have any more questions, please write them down in the comments section, and I'll be sure to read all of them like I've been doing, and just seeing your guys' perspective on this. Bloopers. I don't make any money from this. Also, I have a question for you guys. Do you think that non-conforming men paved the way for guys to wear makeup and do our nails and stuff like this? Or do you think it was trans-identified black men, like this one TQ person said? I don't know, write in the comments. What do you guys think of that? Just wondering.